Finally time. M390 bento box. This is from the last run of PM2s that bento box did. There's the divot from Rockwell testing, and this is the one that was 62 HRC. I know we've all been waiting for this. Those of us that knew about it anyway, definitely eye-opening. Gonna go ahead and say first, somebody's been asking for this for a long time. Sanrenmu 12C27. Heaven Will Be EL. This is for you, buddy. Gonna get this done this week so we can find out if a sub $20 12C27 compares to the others. Back to the M390. This was a total unknown. For those of you that don't know, this is the only M390 out of all the M390 that everyone's collectively sent to Kurt to test yet that hit 62 HRC. For the most part, M390 is 60 HRC and below. Even 60 HRC in testing, it's not very common. I've sent my fair share of M390 to Kurt, and by and large, a whole lot of it's between high 57 and mid 59. Way too much of it is in the 58 HRC range. Not going to talk too much about that. If you don't want to watch the extra sped up cutting, because it did take over 30 minutes each time that I cut with this. I did cut with it 3 times to make sure that the results were verified and to verify the verified results. So here we go. If you want to skip the cutting portion, it's 6 minutes long. Whenever I quit talking, you're going to have to skip 6 minutes ahead. I will also say, if you guys have not subscribed yet to EDC Mag, go and subscribe to Nick's channel. If you are also not yet subscribed to I Heart Knives, go ahead and subscribe to Mike's channel. 2 great channels doing totally different things than each other. Both of them great to watch. If you guys like what I do, you like seeing cool knives, you're definitely going to like both of them. So let's go ahead and get cutting. I have no prediction for this because never cut with 62 HRC M390 before. And if I did, I wasn't aware of it. So, oh, also, before we go to cutting, completely on accident, that is an 18 degree per side bevel. Why is it important that it's an 18 degree per side bevel? Because usually we test everything at 15 degrees per side. If I don't test at 15 degrees per side, I always say up front, this was purely by accident. I had sharpened this to test long before I sent it to Kurt. I had so many loaners to do, I just put this aside. I didn't remember what angle I sharpened it to. I realized when I sharpened it for the second test that I had left it where it was from when I bought it from Josh back over a year ago, which was 18 degrees per side. So 18 degrees per side is important because had it been 15 degrees per side, it would have cut more, especially on a steel like this. And we're going to go ahead and prove it in some later videos for those of you to see who aren't sure if that's what actually happens. But keep in mind, 18 degrees per side, same 1500 grit finish. Same strop progression, 6 micron, 3 micron, 1 micron as every other test. So let's go ahead and get cutting, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Alright, so there we were. You just saw that cutting if you watched it. If you skipped ahead, you're just going to hear the results. We'll talk about the results here in a minute. Now, keep in mind, when I stopped the test because there was one tiny little spot that caught on paper. This is by no means dull. If I go slow, it cuts just fine. You can hear right there is where we have that little spot. So what I am going to do is tomorrow, because I already tested this and I have not sharpened it yet, I am going to strop it, and we're going to do bringing it back with 62 HRC M390 to see how much longer we can cut. If you can see right above my fingernail, there's a line that runs up through the logo. That's where one end of the tape was. And if you look, there's a line right there above my thumbnail. That's where the other edge of the tape was for a 1-inch section. We're going to strop this, we're going to tape it back off, and I'm going to cut with it again. And I'll probably do it about 3 times to see how consistent it is through 3 times, or does it drop off as the stropped edge degrades and you just can't bring it back anymore. Either way, I think it's an awesome opportunity to do it before I sharpen it again to use it. So let's go ahead and go into how it did. Like I said, I tested this 3 times, mostly because it was an unknown, and the first time I did it, I wanted to make sure that there just wasn't any bias involved and that it actually did what it did the first time. I mean, it was pretty crazy what it did the first time. The very first time it did 268 feet fine edge and 398 feet working edge, which, if you guys look back on any of my other M390 tests, if you look back on anybody else's M390 tests, this is something. This is what all the hype surrounding M390 is about. 62 to 64 HRC M390. It's not about the stuff, all the production stuff we're seeing that's in the 57 to 60 HRC range. That's not what people are talking about when they're talking about the hype. They're talking about this right here. And like I said, because I thought, I double verified it to make sure. The second time it did 266 feet fine edge and 400 feet working edge. Backed up the results, well within the 10%. So I sharpened it and did it one more time. The third time it cut 402 feet fine, 402 feet. 268 feet fine edge and 403 feet working edge. So to say I'm happy with that is absolutely an understatement. I mean, that's 3 times over. I do have all the footage. I have considered posting some of the footage in real time. For anyone who says that it doesn't do this, then again, I don't know how much, 62 plus HRC M390 is actually running around out there in a production setting. Which leads me to, if this is what it's capable of, the production companies that are giving us that sub 61, I'm gonna say before I say that, 61 HRC M390 probably performs damn good. But if you look at the difference between 59 and 62 HRC M390, Go back and look at some of my tests. This doubled the fine edge. Actually, a little more than double the fine edge. And it also did more than double the working edge of 59 HRC M390. If you had two M390 knives not marked, one at 59 and one at 62, most people would think it was a totally different steel. That's how differently these actually perform. In sharpening, this feels completely different than any other M390 that I have. That's a 1500 grit edge on that thing. I don't have any other M390 that comes up like that at 1500 grit. Just don't have it. My 59, my 59 and change, my 58s, my 57.7 or whatever it is, none of them come up like this. The scratch pattern does not look like this. Doesn't feel the same. Completely different. So I hope to find some more like this. I do have some Riot M390 to test. I did a preliminary test, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it's looking really good for Riot. It really is, I gotta say. I think they have a real shot at being a place worth spending your money on for M390. And I do have a second Riot to do as well. So I know it's only two knives, but it will give us a real good idea of two different samples, two different model knives produced at two totally different times, how their M390's done. So that's 62 HRC M390. Share this with all your friends. Share it on your social media platforms, anywhere to get views so people can see what M390 done right actually cuts like. I mean, as it stands right now, I still have to do, I'll just say there's some other steels I did, and this beat them in fine edge, and this is real close to S90V in working edge. At a higher angle as well. 18 degrees per side, don't forget that. 62 HRC M390, that's how it does. It's awesome. I love it. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the PM2, there's no way I'm getting rid of this. It works way too nice. That's all I have for this. As always, I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.